I'm just a worker who's on the front line, just trying to do what we have to do to get the community fed.
AFT members across the country have been working on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whether it's been a nurse directly caring for COVID patients or the school cafeteria worker packing bag lunches for students and their families, AFT members are caring for their communities every day, making sure students are engaged and learning. They are keeping children fed and communities safe. Our paraprofessionals and school-related personnel, our PSRPs, in K-12 schools and colleges across the country are the backbone of their workplace. As if their role in supporting our students' social and emotional learning were not enough, their day-to-day work literally makes our schools able to function. From busing to cleaning to feeding to supporting learning to registering for classes, school and college support staff do it all. These are the working people who ensure America's communities can continue to thrive. We are AFT.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, at first it was very confusing because day-to-day things were changing on a constant basis. Nobody knew what to do. So our members had to scramble to try to get computers for our students and also for our teachers' assistants. As far as food service, getting food together in a unique way, no hot food because kids can't come through the lunch line. It was very stressful. We have been in constant contact with the superintendent and the school board to make sure that we have the MERS, air purifiers, sanitizers, we got the PPE. I would just like to say thank you to AFT and NYSET for being there for us locals when we needed them the most. They kept us abreast with accurate information because during the pandemic, we saw during our previous president tenure, you never got the truth. At least we were able to call our state national affiliate AFT and NYSET to give us the truth. So I'd like to give a shout out to them.
Since the pandemic, returning to school this year has been quite different. We're not just supporting our students academically, we support them emotionally, and I work in preschool, so of course I love giving my kids, hugs and things like that. And unfortunately this year, because of the pandemic and having to social distance, we had to be really careful about that, but I still show affection to them in other ways. It's really challenging as a para to keep the kids separated and to play with their own toys and stay on top of cleaning and washing hands, and our cleaning has just totally increased. But on a positive note, I feel the kids are very resilient and our staff is amazing and they just roll with the punches, and anything that gets thrown at us, we're able to tackle it. And I'm super proud of how hard everybody has worked with all the changes, and they change constantly, and we continue to do the best that we can because our students are our first priority.
During the past year, dealing with this COVID, our district went through a lot of changes. Students were on Zoom for the entire year. Some students are back in person. As far as my job is concerned, one of the things that I do, I enroll all new students to our district grades K through 8. So parents now call in, I give them all the information that's needed to enroll and then set up an appointment for them to bring it in. For my colleagues, it was very difficult. I know the teachers and then the paras. How do you do this remote thing when there's no interaction with one another? Personally, I dealt with the loss of loved ones with COVID. One of my colleagues who was a teacher and classmate who was actually scheduled to retire this June, passed away back in March. And then back here in December, on the 23rd of December, I lost my ex-husband, the father of my twin daughters, to COVID. So it has been a challenging year. I finally got a chance to see my 81-year-old mother after I'd gotten my shot for the first time in March. So I'm looking forward to being able to go and visit her even more. And I'm just hopeful and prayerful that everybody, take the shot. And so we can get back to some type of normalcy.
The last year has turned the higher ed institution on its head, trying to hold distance learning or comprehensive learning with children, K through 12. We have the same thing with community college. However, it is not a mandate that people go to community college. So the amount of unenrollment has significantly impacted our budgets moving forward, and our staff have had to turn on a dime and become absolutely everything and anything to people on a phone call instead of being able to sit there in a meeting and have that interaction. The most challenging thing is how to support staff while they're supporting students, to stay connected, to make sure people still feel part of a tribe. I'm looking forward to hugging my friends, to eating a burned hamburger at a barbecue and thinking it's the best thing I've ever had, to being able to meet with members in person and be able to hug them when they need it. I miss people. I'm looking forward to the peopling.
Students in Michigan's largest school district will switch to virtual learning after a spike in COVID-19 cases.
Here in Michigan, our infection rates have gone through the roof. Where we were at one point one of the lowest in the country, we are now #1 in the country. So we are actually out of the buildings. At the initial onset of the government closing schools down, when we were first forced back into the buildings weren't clean and sanitized. Every day I complained to the district about it. I told them, don't tell me what the contractors tell you. I'm in the building every day because we have contractors cleaning our buildings, not our unionized people. So we got through that. The buildings got clean, departments got clean, our central office got clean. So it was rough going in the beginning to get them to understand that these buildings need to be clean and sanitized.
A year ago, when COVID was just beginning, right before we closed schools, I was at home sick with the coronavirus. I then ended up in the hospital for several days. It was very difficult. Once we got back to school in the fall, it was very different. It was scary because I didn't want to fail and I didn't want to disappoint my students, and I wanted to make sure that they were still having a good learning experience at home. And how can I assist the teacher to make this happen, because we're both learning it. And so then we find new ways to do math, reading, science. Paraprofessionals, our jobs change a lot. My hat goes off to the teachers and paraprofessionals, the food service workers, the custodians. Everybody jumped in, and it was a team effort to make this thing work for our students. And that's the goal. It's all about our students. And so when you say, what's the job description of a paraprofessional? Well, during a pandemic, it is whatever is needed. That's what you do. The American Federation of Teachers should be so proud of how our members stepped up, our nurses, our secretaries, everybody. And it was a team effort to make this happen. So it was a lot, but I believe we conquered it.
I am a proud AFT member and a proud AFT PSRP.
I am AFT.
I am AFT PSRP, excited and ready to go back to the real world.
I am AFT PSRP. Stay safe and be blessed.
I am a proud PSRP member. I am AFT, and I live to educate.